Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Strife's Talking Points, where I cover the things I find interesting and put them out into the world. Today, the first thing I was looking at was this, of course, the impeachment ideas from the Democrats, information about the Mueller report, everything going on kind of in that little thing. And you'll notice here that most mainstream coverage is about why the Democrats should impeach after the Mueller report was released and there was no collusion per the Mueller report. And actually found this little clip here of Mueller himself.
That investigation, if we had had confidence that the president clearly did not commit a crime, we would have said so.
Now, what he just said there about this is about the first part. If we had evidence they did not commit a crime, we would have said so. Legal investigations are not to prove a negative. They are to prove a positive. So if, let's say, you were being investigated, it would be that you, as the person, were to prove your innocence. Not for the government, for the investigators to prove your guilt or to find sufficient evidence to charge you. It would be that you had to prove you're innocent. So if you were unable on your own terms to prove you were innocent, you would be considered guilty. What Robert Mueller has done there is he is trying to prove or state that the president, he was unable to prove that the president was guilty, or innocent. He was, however, able to find there was no evidence of guilt. Just no evidence of innocence either. So it's the opposite statement of what typically happens.
We did not, however, make a determination as to whether the president did commit a crime.
Again, that's the upside down of how things normally work. Investigations are not to prove someone is innocent. Investigations are to find out if there's enough evidence to bring charges against a person. And that's kind of what the Mueller report refers to as part one. No sufficient evidence to make any charges against anyone in the Trump campaign for collusion with Russia or Trump's greater circle. All the indictments that came down were through things that happened before the Trump campaign got together, and they all referred back to the Ukraine or some other nation states. Keep in mind, the Ukraine is the state that Russia invaded and took a big part of its Crimean territory across the Black Sea there. Now, according to Google now, Elizabeth Warren, Mueller's statement made it clear that those of us who read the report already knew he's referring President Trump for impeachment, and that's up to Congress to act, and they should. What you run into there is he was unable to prove his innocence, so that means you have to impeach him. He was unable to assign any guilt or anything to that, and of course you typically see it. Democrats don't care about facts. You kind of see both sides. Now, here's a story from Politico. This is actually what touched off me wanting to kind of get into this morning. Dems fear report on Russia probe could kill their oversight momentum. After an internal Department of Justice report, could highlight potential political bias by FBI agents at the heart of the Russia investigation. Democrats lurching toward potential impeachment and ramping up their probes of President Donald Trump are becoming increasingly worried that the Justice Department will subvert its efforts. An internal DOJ watchdog report on the origins of the Russia probe is expected to spotlight potential political bias by FBI agents at the heart of the Russia probe. The report, due out as soon as this month and as late as October, could raise pointed questions about the FBI's decision-making and handing Trump a bludgeon in his longtime running campaign accused the Bureau of mounting a coup against him. Now, the best of my understanding, typically what happens when they find out something like this is happening, and that is by the FBI or the security apparatus of the U.S. finds out that someone in the U.S. is being targeted for either blackmail or something like that by a foreign actor, they will generally reach out to those people. The thing about this is several of the people in the Trump campaign were very highly vetted already. They had already had their security clearance. And from what I remember from the William Barr, is that those people should have been notified that this was going on so that they could then come into the investigation and help them out. However, that was not done. The whole point of this is to go on a wild goose chase and then create a chain of implausible connections that show that the special counsel's report and what we're doing is somehow fruit of the poisonous tree. It's absurd, Rep. Jamie Radskins, Democratic from Maryland, member of the Judiciary and Oversight Committee, said in an interview. The special counsel's report showed that there was no evidence of any connections or any collusion between Russia and the Trump campaign, and that there was basically no collusion. And what we're doing, the Democrats are pushing for impeachment, not based on actual evidence. They are going based on Trump was upset that he felt the investigation was impeding his ability to act as president, which it has. And there are initial questions here on top Democrat confident Mueller will testify soon. Here's what Congress might ask. Now, I'm going to skip through, I'll just go through the first one. Did you obtain Trump's financial records? There is something that's been going on where they have got to find out where Trump gets his money from, how he gets his money, how much money he has, how his taxes are paid. The Democratic Party really is in touch with this. The mainstream media is big into this. Most people, no, I'm not going to say most people, a lot of people out there really just don't care. Trump has said he assumes Mueller got his tax returns, and investigators concluded all was copacetic, and that was one biased basis for the broad way in which the president and his supporters have characterized Mueller's finding as an all-purpose inoculation, meaning in their telling, any other investigations are baseless. Now, I can go along with any other investigations are strictly for political purposes. There's no stone unflipped. It's done. I mean, they've gotten all the information they needed. Why didn't you insist on a interview in person with Trump? That's another decent question. Why did you drop former FBI Special Agent Peter Strzok from your team? This is the one where they've received the text messages between the FBI lawyer Lisa Page and Peter Strzok, basically saying they had plans to get rid of Trump, to push past Trump, just to kind of take him out if he was elected. That was their thing, which is where Trump and his supporters have charged Mueller led a witch hunt pursued by a team of angry Democrats out to get the president based on nothing but partisan bias. At the conclusion, all right, will you say now whether you believe Trump broke the law? Now, if the investigation, as Mueller himself said,
after that investigation, if we had confidence that the president clearly did not commit a crime,
they were not investigating him after a certain point to find out what crime was committed. They were investigating to gather more information. There was no evidence to them of collusion between the Trump campaign team and the Russian government or anyone associated with the Russian government. And they were able to find that there's nothing there. They couldn't find any information. There was nothing there, nothing to highlight it. So typically that's when you basically end the investigation. That didn't happen in the Mueller report. They continued the investigation for another I don't know how long, just to continue investigating and see what else they could pull up. After a lengthy investigation, they said they could they couldn't find a crime, but they couldn't find innocence. So the idea in the U.S. is guilty until proven innocent. However, no charges could be brought based on any of that. And also, as he stated a little later on in there, he couldn't charge the president anyway. He could only say, yes, here's the evidence of what happened, and hand it over to Congress. What Mueller did was he found that there was no evidence to support the charges, and he said, I couldn't prove that there wasn't a crime. So basically handing that over to Congress. Now, as you kind of go through these, you see they're pushing the obstruction issue. Now, obstructing an investigation needs legally to have a crime that you are covering up for. You need to have that Russian manipulation. You need to have that collusion. You need to have this. You need to have something underlying that is a crime. Since there's no evidence of any crimes being committed, and I believe the President of the United States, Trumpy, has been very clear that he was unhappy that this is the only topic that has been talked about, and we're referring to thousands of news broadcasts through the major networks, through places like Politico, NPR, NBC, MSNBC, thousands upon thousands of articles and interviews and just truly false reports, fake news. All this stuff has happened on this one topic. That Trump was upset, and he was openly upset that everything he had worked up to was undermined by the investigation. Now, as far as obstruction goes,
and we would have said so. We did not, however, make a determination as to whether the president did commit a crime. The introduction to the volume 2 of our report explains that decision. It explains that under long-standing department policy, a president cannot be charged with a federal crime while he is in office.
Now this is where Mueller tries to, I guess, open this up, and I believe this is a political tactic to open it up. There was no evidence of a crime. There were no charges directly tying anyone in the Trump circle to the Russian collusion. There was nothing there. And then as he goes into the other one, he said, we couldn't prove that there wasn't a crime. We couldn't prove there was a crime. And Trump was upset about the investigation going on. Now, as far as any direct links to obstruct, there is nothing that I've heard where he actually openly pushed back against Mueller and shut him down. He answered the questions, he did what his lawyers told him to, and he moved on. And now you see the Democrats are afraid the Russia probe will highlight why this investigation happened, and it will backfire on them as to say that yes, there was a strictly political reason, because keep in mind the Steele dossier was compiled by foreign agents in Great Britain, although we trust Great Britain a lot more than we trust Russia. And it's still, though, that's foreign agents actively being pursued and put together by a American party, i.e. the Democrat Opposition Research Team. So that's just kind of where I'm at with this. I'd really like to see this oversight probe come out sooner rather than later, and then go from there. Yeah, that's where I'm at. Please let me know what you think. Like, subscribe, dislike, whatever. I'm here just to talk, get some engagement, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.